Okay, next up, we have Josh and Miran and their venture, Dollhouse.
Hi, I'm Josh.
And I'm Miran.
We're the co-founders of Dollhouse, and we are a 3D-powered furniture marketplace which helps you think like a designer and it feels like play.
A few months ago, Josh and I signed a lease for an apartment in Portland, blank, blank slate, no furniture. We really care about layout and design, but we're not interior designers ourselves, and we don't have the time to go in person to all of these stores. So we did what 40 million Americans do every year, went on Wayfair. 19 pages of sofas later, we slammed our laptops and asked, why does furnishing a home online have to feel like filing taxes?
What we realized is that the online furniture shopping experience is static, boring, and uninspiring for your casual browser. Tiny 2D thumbnails, endless filters, zero context. Every click reloads a new grid, and your mental slate is wiped clean. That's the reason why 90% of shoppers never add a single item to cart. The result? Rooms get furnished on a whim, or worse, they never get furnished at all, because the spark of inspiration dies on page one.
And that friction continues even if you get that first item. Yeah, you have a sofa that's gonna fit perfectly in your space, but what about an ottoman that would have gone perfectly with that? That's hidden behind another 32 pages somewhere else. By now, you're juggling single images with guesswork, and you're totally burnt out. Furniture retail currently optimizes for single products, but shopper wants finished spaces.
Here's the twist. Wayfair's original pitch deck 20 years ago hammered one truth, that the home is shopped visually, and that every product is shopped for its uniqueness. Fast forward to today, this is what we have. Pop-ups, banners, everywhere. 17 different layout pages. I mean, I don't even know where to begin shopping on this website. Wayfair grew so big that they forgot the very vision that set them apart.
That gap between inspiration and purchase is now wide open, and that's where we come in. Dollhouse starts with inspiration, but without overwhelming you. The second you step on our website, we ask you, which one of those empty spaces match your room? And you can browse through a sun-soaked studio, a cozy attic bedroom, or just your standard 12 by 18 living room.
Or if you want to take it a step further, you can scan a QR code and we can render a live 3D scan of your own space in your home, and that becomes your live canvas. From that first click, that canvas sits on the right side of your screen, always in view. Every time you add an item to cart, its textured 3D model drops into the canvas instantly. You're not imagining a mood board. You're seeing your future space evolve in real time.
Next, you explore. Products live in an endless horizontal carousel. One swipe left or right updates a real-time taste graph that we built just for you. And that reshuffles the rest of that carousel based on your taste. Think Tinder, but for furniture. You can condense 5,000 products into 50 you might actually like with just 5 clicks. And to take it a step further, hit design mode and you can sketch a wall, resize the room, or even change the flooring. It feels like you're playing The Sims, but this cart actually ships to your home. Dollhouse replaces endless clicking with an interactive playground where your ideas become reality within seconds.
And if your creative juices aren't flowing, or you'd rather describe a vibe than go swipe through products, meet Dolly. Try typing, build me a cozy reading nook with brass accents and potted plants around. And Dolly, powered by a large language and vision model, builds the entire room inside your canvas using real inventory. You can keep chatting to tweak or switch to manual swipe. Either way, Dollhouse learns your style. She's not just a chatbot. She's a co-creator that helps baskets feel designed and not recommended.
And let's zoom out for a second and see who else is playing in that space. We've stacked Dollhouse against the big players. Furniture.com, Wayfair, Ashley Furniture, and Crate and Barrel. And we actually assess them on 5 things that a modern shopper needs. A semantic search that knows what a minimalist timber console is, reactive recommendations that learn from every swipe, a live 3D viewer so you can view everything in scale, build mode so you can rearrange your room within minutes, and an AI virtual designer that co-creates with you. You can see the patterns. Most of the players have 1 green check, maybe 2 if they're lucky. Only Dollhouse ticks every box. We're the first platform that feels like Pinterest for inspiration, Tinder for discovery, and a video game for visualization, all while actually closing that transaction. At this point, it's important to specify who our target supplier is. We're not only targeting Wayfair, Ashley, or Crate & Barrel's suppliers, and that's intentional. If you just want a $200 recliner and all you care about is having a cup holder where you can put your beer, you can shop in Ashley or Wayfair. We want to target manufacturers whose customers actually care about design. And these tend to be on the higher end, but not so high, where they exclusively shop in person or through a designer.
Now you might ask, why would suppliers actually want to join our platform? The biggest issue with online marketplaces is returns. And here's something that one of the manufacturers we were talking to had to say about returns. Honestly, most of the stuff we get back isn't broken at all. It's the wrong fit. A sofa shows up and suddenly the living room door won't open or the color clashes with the coffee table they already own. Those mistakes are crushing margins. Dollhouse kills that problem before it even begins and gives customers the confidence that they need. First, we render dimensionally accurate visuals. That 84 by 33 inches isn't a guess. It isn't guesswork. It is pixel perfect. Then we let shoppers drop that model into a live scan of their actual space before they ever hit buy. The result for our design-forward suppliers is simple. Reduced returns, higher basket value, and consequently, higher average order value as well. That's why we believe the mid to upper tier brands, the ones that really care, the ones that live and die on the customer experience, are going to line up to list on Dollhouse. So what does that process actually look like? We project the entire pipeline from having a conversation with those manufacturers and launching them on Dollhouse to take less than 48 hours. First, we plug directly into their inventory management system using our API and pull out their information. If they have 3D assets for their furniture products, that's great. Most of them already do from the ones that we've talked to. If not, that's not a big problem either. We take their product photos and run it through an image to 3D pipeline that generates those assets overnight. Finally, we hit launch. Under the hood, Dollhouse handles all transactions and billing, marketing, customer acquisitions, and returns, all the boring plumbing that Wayfair had already mastered. The only things that the manufacturers or the suppliers would have to take care of is actually shipping the good to the customer and making sure that their inventory feed is updated and live.
Our pricing package combines a tiered subscription, pay-per-clicks, and a priority auction. Every supplier pays a monthly subscription fee based on their catalog size. And on top of that, we charge pay-per-click, and that click means if a product was added to their carts. So these suppliers can see when shoppers engage, and the return on investment is right there. And lastly, we use a priority auction where manufacturers can pay to have their products be listed or recommended first. This tag model, having a subscription for the stability, the pay-per-click for performance, and the auction for the upside, it gives Dollhouse multiple levers to grow revenue as our catalog expands. And here's the size of the prize. We start with 18,346 furniture manufacturers in the US, and about 12,000 of those fall in that design thinking mid-range that we're trying to target. And about 50% of those, which is 6,000 furniture manufacturers, currently sell online. If you assume a 50% market penetration for our serviceable obtainable market, and assume an average $3.99 a month a subscription fee, that comes out to $14.3 million a year in recurring revenue, and that's without counting a single dollar generated from pay-per-clicks or the auctions.
Now let's talk game plan. This summer, after we graduate, is all about supply. We plan on leaning on the industry relationships with organizations and showrooms to make those warm introductions to suppliers and offer them our founding vendor 6-month free subscription to be on our platform. In addition, we plan on running a roadshow through states like New York City, North Carolina, and California, the 3 main furniture manufacturing hubs in the United States, where we can set up trade show booths and attend conferences and provide on-site demos and visits with suppliers. Once we build that traction over the summer with suppliers, we're ready to launch. Towards the fall of this year, we are going to aggressively pivot towards demand generation and launch our platform. We plan to flood social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram with user-generated content, like influencer room flip videos using Dollhouse and DIY makeover channels on YouTube, while also tightly targeting meta ads that zero in on recent movers, which is an actual category on meta ads. Once we've built up that traction, hopefully towards the end of this year, during winter, we plan to form strategic partnerships to scale our business. For example, instead of, we hope to replace our in-house scanning feature with other apps like Polycam or Lawn Labs that does a really good job in specializing and taking care of LiDAR scanning. Another option that we're thinking about is launching embedded service partnerships with companies like Redfin and Zillow, where, say, for example, people go on their websites to shop for a home. Maybe they can click a button and say, furnish this home in 3D, and shop the furniture with the home that they might be purchasing. This 3-season sprint puts us on track for a full platform launch by Q3 2025. We're asking for $25,000, and every dollar is already spoken for. Roughly half of it, about $13,000, goes straight into demand generation and bringing virality, UGC content, meta ads, referral programs. The success of our platform revolves around whether we can reach the user where they are, and that is our plan to do so.
The next 6,000 is to really polish our product. Our platform revolves around being cutting edge when it comes to design, UI, and UX. We're planning on having partnerships with industry experts in that area.
We've also earmarked $3,000 for supplier outreach, which includes the trade show booths that I was talking about and visits with manufacturers that convert these warm leads into live catalogs.
And the last 3,000 would be for IP protection. We're planning on meeting lawyers to see if we can get any IP licensing on some of the in-house frameworks and technologies that we've developed, so the big players like Wayfair cannot just come in and copy our product.
Again, I'm Josh. I act as the CEO of Dollhouse. My experiences professionally with internships have revolved around working in investments and finance.
And I'm Miran, and I'm the CTO. And my past experiences have been in AI engineering and software engineering.
Down the road, pretty soon, we're also thinking about hiring a customer success manager that has deep roots in the furniture retail experience, someone who knows the ins and outs of the experience. This person would be in charge of taking care of the transition between sales, getting them onboarded, and managing those client relationships even after they launch on our platform.
And we're lucky to have our team of advisors who've been with us since day one, and namely Nurettin Acar, who's the CEO of IKEA Spain, who really drilled in us the idea that furniture shopping needs the Pinterestifying aspect, and this needs to be frictionless.
And who's also a great resource to learn about retail operations in furniture. And also my good friend Sid, who is an AI engineer at a YC startup, who has played an incredibly pivotal role in helping us develop and deploy our AI workflows, especially behind Dolly and our recommendation engine. So yes, we are a marketplace. We own the transaction and the logistics, but we win because we're so much more than that. We're the first furniture discovery engine that is built for how people actually dream, design, and decide today. When shoppers can design a whole room in just 5 minutes, everyone else's 19-page catalog feels like dial-up internet. We help you think like a designer, and it feels like play. That's the future that Dollhouse is building, and we'd love for you to build it with us.
Thank you.
Have you thought about becoming an embedded platform that exists on these furniture browsing sites instead of trying to drive demand yourselves?
That's actually the idea we had right before landing on being a marketplace. We figured that working with these furniture stores, and after talking to them, we realized they use many different types of websites. Some of them haven't touched them in years. So we didn't really want to turn into a company just as IT consulting. So we wanted to shift to a marketplace so we can have all of these technologies under our hood, and we can manage them and scale them a lot better.
Yeah, just to add on to that, like we're promising that we can convert visitors, but if we're working as like an extension for existing retailers' websites, we can't bring more eyeballs to their website. We can just convert better.
I'm not as familiar with the Wayfair business model. I'm a customer, but I confess I don't understand how they actually make their money. Do they use a subscription service, or are they taking a cut of every purchase? And how did you think about what the right revenue model was for you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. So Wayfair works on a similar dropship model. So, they don't have any of their own warehouses, and they don't use a subscription model like in the way that we do. So they charge typically between a 10 and 40% markup on all the marketplace platforms, or on all the products that they offer. We thought a subscription model combined with the auction and the pay-per-click was a more comprehensive and predictable cash flow that also appeases to a lot of the manufacturers that we work with, because some of them are like, we're working with a spectrum of manufacturers, some of whom who are going to make a much larger volume of sales than others. Keeping that to a subscription tier just based off of how many products that they might have in their catalog also helps them project and budget for the cost in becoming a part of our platform.
I definitely see, first, great job. I definitely see how the visualization aspect of this, and especially if you can really figure out the taste graph and preferences piece, which a lot of folks are trying to do, could really drive excitement. I'm curious whether you think that could be offset, or you have any concerns that not having a deep database of ratings and reviews for all these products is somehow a network effect for your competitors that you won't have. Obviously, Wayfair's is an extraordinary volume of user-generated content on that front.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we start, it's obviously impossible for us to get like the reviews that Wayfair has. And part of the reason why Wayfair is so incredibly successful at what they do is the trust that comes with the name. They offer unified returns. Everybody's familiar with the name, and that's why they're willing to buy a couch for thousands of dollars without ever having sat on it. What we're saying is our hypothesis is even more simple. If they can do that, then with higher purchasing confidence through design visualizations and giving ownership to the buyer to actually design their rooms, we can overcome that challenge of reviews because they have more control over that experience.
What accuracy do you think you have in being able to produce those pixel-perfect CAD estimates based on images?
Could you repeat that? Sorry, I couldn't hear.
Sorry. What confidence do you have in being able to produce those pixel-perfect CAD-like images based on?
So the manufacturers typically have 3D assets that they give to interior designers that work with a showroom partner or that manufacturer. So from their end, like that is what the furniture was modeled off. So it's incredibly accurate. If they don't have 3D assets, we convert that into 3D using like an AI image to 3D model, and it comes with tear sheets. Almost all of those models, which come with dimensions. So we are incredibly confident, at least with dimensions and accuracy in that regard.
And the thing that these AI models excel at is just capturing the proportions of like the different parts of the furniture. So if we can just scale that to what it says in the tear sheet, it's going to look exactly like how it would look if they already had their 3D assets.
Thank you.